I'm Christopher Wiley and I lecture in a number of musical topics, both classical and popular. I was awarded School of Arts Runners-Up Moodle Launch Award for the work done this year with the first year of the undergraduate programme, particularly embedding Moodle within the learning environment, getting the first year used to blended learning and used to online submission. It was not an award that was given to me solely, it was jointly with my programme administrator, Michelle Parker, and that is the reason I'm so pleased about the award, because it shows what academic staff and professional staff can achieve in tandem. I was actually introduced to Moodle 2 years ago, not as a member of staff, but as a student on the MA in Academic Practice. Moodle was introduced to my department this September, so I've been using it as a member of staff for a year. I actually find Moodle very easy to use. Easier to use than other online learning environments I've been brought into contact with in the past. One or two minor issues notwithstanding, but it's early days yet and they're far from insurmountable. Music being the discipline that it is, there are some unique challenges in terms of online submission and marking, particularly in terms of the material that it's possible to upload and mark and download. For instance, if you're dealing with a recording or a composition, it may be infeasible owing to the size of the file, or indeed there may be nothing to annotate. In the past, we've endeavoured to work around this potential problem by offering online submission as the default option, but a possibility for submission in hard copy, at least of the materials that it's not possible for students to upload. Other possible workarounds would include scanning of annotated transcriptions, for instance, or indeed creating them electronically and producing them as images. Administratively, it's a single click and I receive all the essays, copies that I can then annotate electronically, which is something I've been doing since 2003, 2004, so I've had my apprenticeship there. I've had plenty of experience in online submission and annotation and returning the feedback to the students. Benefits for the students of online submission and marking are twofold. One is that it gives them a little bit more time before the deadline, because they can submit online. They don't have to come into the school office and fill out the cover sheet with the 2 hard copies. But the other much more important benefit is that they receive feedback as soon as possible. The majority of students preferred electronic submission methods. They recognised it was easier for them, it was easier for us as tutors, and it meant they got the feedback sooner and they got better feedback. It was neater, it was all typed up formally. Vast majority of students express it as the preferable option. Of those, the majority express Moodle as the preferred method of submission rather than, for instance, email. The package that students would get online will differ from week to week, from lecture to lecture, but it might involve a combination of lecture handouts, PowerPoint slides, assignments if an assignment's been handed out that week, assessment criteria of course, links to external recordings, audio and audio-visual, scores, perhaps some digitised readings. It could involve any of those in combination. One point I would make about PowerPoint slides, my personal practice is not to upload them until after the lecture, partly because the PowerPoint slides that go up on Moodle, I want to be a reflection of that lecture, and who's to say exactly what ground we cover in the lecture. The feedback we've received from students thus far about the availability of resources on Moodle has been very positive. Gone are the days of long queues at the library and multiple reservations on copies of books, because the readings are up there digitised as part of the university's scheme for digitising of important resources, particularly book chapters and journal articles. And likewise, gone are the days of multiple reservations for CDs, because we can include links to streaming sites to which we have an electronic subscription. The added bonus, of course, of putting these materials up there on Moodle is it brings students into contact not just with our strategic learning environment, but also with those electronic resources, so that in time when they want to find journal articles and scores and recordings, they're already familiar with the external sites that they can use to do that. It can work both ways as to whether a student is more likely to come to class as a result of having Moodle resources as almost like a taster, a trailer to the class, or whether the availability of resources might make them think, well, I can do this myself. Everything is available for self-directed study. My experience is that it doesn't have a significant impact on attendance, provided that it is made clear to students that Moodle is not a substitute for coming to class, which there will never be a substitute for coming to lectures. I can understand people's concerns about adding to workload, because inevitably if you're maintaining another learning resource, then you are adding to your workload. What I would say is that it tends to be worth the investment. By and large, these are materials that you would have to collate for yourself anyway in some form or other. For instance, in one of my modules, all of the recordings and all of the scores that were consulted in the lecture were made available via links to the external websites to which we have subscription access to those recordings and scores. So I was using the same materials as the students, and it wasn't a doubling up of workload. I'd be positive to another lecturer who is thinking of learning Moodle. Perhaps if a lecturer was a little concerned about embracing a new technology. Moodle has been tried and tested. The students all seem to like it. We've had very positive feedback. My advice would be to embrace the positives, to embrace facilities such as the Moodle scheduler, which really does save a lot of time. Also perhaps to start small. Don't try and turn your module sites into a multimedia resource that takes the whole summer to set up, but just build up slowly and surely, and build up all lectures equally, so that you don't have one lecture which is that multimedia resource and then you've got to build up all the others to that same level.